What is up, everybody? Got an update for you on this 65-gallon Garden of the Roots tank. I just did some maintenance on it yesterday, and obviously it's not going to look its best right after maintenance, but I just wanted to show you what's been going on with the plants, not so much with the fish. So there's one part with the tetras that I'll talk about just for a sec, and then that'll be it. So let's get into it. Alright, first off, let's talk about the plants that are growing out of the tank and not so much in the water. Bamboo, quote-unquote lucky bamboo, is the first one. I've had this plant for 3, maybe 4 years now, and it is grown very, very big, considering how large you buy them at. I used to have this in the 29-gallon that's upstairs, and if you go back far enough in my videos, you can actually see how small this thing started out compared to what it is now, and now it's like twice as tall as this fish tank is. Actually, one of the other lucky bamboo plants that I propagated off of is in the other side of this tank, but it's really small, so I'm just going to show you this one for now. But yeah, this thing's just going to keep growing. Eventually it's going to hit the ceiling, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, that's it for now. Alright, shifting over just a little bit, we have this plant that I don't know the name of. So if I find it, I'll put it in the description. But it's a common household plant. It grows through runners and everything. But I also started this off of propagation, and it was tiny when I started it. Well, not tiny, but it was like 4 inches long. And now it's already growing shoots and offshoots and new runner groups. I just cut the roots with the maintenance, but as you can see, they are huge even after I cut them just yesterday. Focus on that. Alright. Before I cut them, they were all the way down to the bottom of the tank. They were actually growing into the soil, so that's why I needed to trim them back a little bit, because they were kind of taking over. But they were just massive. So if you need a plant in your tank, but you don't want anything actually inside your tank for whatever reason, this is an easy plant. Just put it on the back of your tank and it'll start growing. Again, I'll try and find the species name for you guys. I'll put it in the description if I find it. So now we're gonna go to the actual plants in the tank. Alright, starting left to right, inside the tank, I replaced the Ludiwgia Repens red that used to be on this side, that used to be on that side. It moved around a lot, but that's not the point. I replaced most of it with some other stem plants like Rotala Rotundifolia, Rotala Nanjenshan, Hygrophila species, some other Ludiwgias, just to give it a little bit more stem plant variety. Hopefully they grow in a little bit almost as thick as the Ludiwgia used to be when it was on the other side. Reason I replaced it was it got kind of stringy. I'm not totally sure, but I'm just gonna go ahead and blame the Riccia Fluitans for just blocking out most of the light. So I also cleared it up near all of the Riccia, though I already know that it's gonna be back in a few months, just as strong as it was. But for now, I'm gonna give as much light as I can to these stem plants. Behind the stem plants, there is some Sagittaria sublata that kind of went out of control when I first bought it, but I'm making do with it, which gives a nice set away to the middle of the back of the tank. If you look at near any other video before the sublata got here, you can see that that back part was almost all Cryptocorynes, that brownish red plant right there. It was really, really nice. It was growing in nice and strong, and then the crypts just decided to melt for some reason. They were growing amazingly. They hadn't melted yet, and I don't know, their roots were really strong, so it doesn't really make sense for them to just die off. Maybe they caught some disease I couldn't track down, but most of them survive in the upper half of the tank, more to the right, and I replanted the areas that were lost and I guess the Cryptocoryne fire, but replaced it with the sublata, and the sublata just grew in super fast, really nice. It works perfectly because it's basically the same effect as Valsarainia has, but on a much smaller tank than I would really prefer to have Val in anyway. So fills in really nicely, and it kind of makes up for that gap that the Cryptocorynes left, while still letting the red accent kind of liven up that green background. Alright, and that Anubias plant on the bottom left is just strong. I never had an Anubias plant do that well before, so that's nice. But moving on to the far right, I'm gonna go ahead and lift the camera up to get a better angle. But all the swords that are back there, I mean, they basically haven't changed condition. The Echinodorus Grisebachii that I added did not grow as tall as I was hoping it. Obviously the tank depth isn't that great, and the light is rather strong for the foreground plants, so I'm guessing it just doesn't need to grow that tall to reach anything, so it's not putting that much energy into it. But they are growing a bit taller, and the Echinodorus alspinosa is growing just as well, like I said earlier, but it's super red. Great plant. Echinodorus all the way for any tank you design. They fit pretty much any regimen, but not very much to say about these guys right now. Moving on to the right even more, in that back corner, and then we'll move down, go right from left. As you may be able to see, I added some of this Storgon Repens back to the back of this tank. The stem plants, the old Ludiwgia, used to fill up that back section really nicely, but obviously since I took them out of the corner, I needed something to fill the gap. And while I was waiting, some random Rotala made its way into the corner and looked rather nice, though there were only 3 stems. So I decided to move those guys over to the left with all the other stem plants and placed it with Storgons. Storgon had already been trying to grow back, but kept getting stopped by the swords and the stem plants, so I moved them all out of the way and replanted some back there. So hopefully I can get this entire left side to just be all Storgon Repens from the back to the front, which will look amazing if it grows in correctly. Moving down to the other Storgons, I trimmed them down. Probably should have taken a picture before I cut them down, but they were humongous, like maybe this tall, like 6 inches tall, which is already a third of the tank. So I needed to trim it down, and even with a rough trimming, it still looks really nice. So again, if you're looking for a nice foreground plant and a semi-large tank, I'd definitely go with Storgon Repens. Moving left, gonna go to the back and then front real quick, but I also replanted Storgon Repens in this back, I guess, alleyway of driftwood to fill in the spot that at one point was short stem Rotala, which is forcefully short stem, I should say. It's not an actual strain of Rotala, but using Rotala as a foreground plant. And I don't know what else I had back there. I think I tried to get the hairgrass to move back, but it did not want to move back there. So hopefully I can get these Storgon Repens to grow in just as well as it did right there, and I can have 2 Storgon, I guess, pathways encompassing the hairgrass, which will look nice in a few months. Well, more like almost a year, but patience. Next up is the hairgrass and Glossostigma, which are the last two plants, and then I'm gonna talk about the silver tip tetras real quick. So as you can see, the hairgrass has grown in really nicely, and luckily the Glossostigma did what I was hoping and grew into the hairgrass to give it a more natural look of, if you look in anyone's yard, well, not people's yard, they keep that really one species, but if you look at any natural field, I guess, you can see it's not just one plant dominating everything. It's going to be a mixture of different species all growing together, so that's what I was aiming for. So I got the Glossostigma to grow in. Some of the Riccia Fluitans waited itself somehow, and then started growing down there. Some of the Java moss started growing in between it, so it's got a nice mixture of plants to keep it looking nice and natural. And moving left again, the Glossostigma just died out. There isn't that much aqua soil compared to the rest of the tank in that one spot, so that could be the problem, but I wouldn't think so considering how shallow their roots are. It's growing fine with the hairgrass, but as soon as the hairgrass leaves it, it just kind of dies out. It's still alive, but not doing very well. I didn't notice this before, but you can see the hairgrass back there. It's already started growing in. Focus better on that. Hairgrass right around there started growing back in, so that's nice. Hopefully it can combine with the Storeguy Repens and get something else, something new going. Yeah, so that's the last part. The dwarf sword plant is just kind of growing in one single line just around the tank, but that's just a little funny thing. There's one of the Darios. You never get to see them. And he's gone. Yeah, you have to look at this tank for a really long time to see any of those guys. But they are like, I think it's 3 males and 1 female, and if it's 4 males, then that last one is really good at disguising himself so he doesn't get killed. But moving on to the actual fish, I wanted to talk about the silver tip tetras. Great fish. If you're looking for something to put in a medium to larger tank, you can get a good school of these guys. They're not like a lot of the other fish people sell sometimes where they shoal, which is basically they stay together but they don't all swim in the same direction, create that nice dynamic effect. But these guys all swim in virtually the same direction when they're not sparring with each other. Sorry about the beep, but they create a nice effect. And during the night, that if you have any nighttime LEDs, the blue lights reflect off really nicely. And now my phone's going off, but the main part of the silver tips is this one right there. I'll try and track him for you, but that is the son of one of these guys and one of the 2 females, who, if you look at some other videos I've made, luckily got caught in the Riccia Fluitans while I was cleaning it out, and his egg got lucky and survived the transfer and then hatched in another tank, and been growing him out for a couple months. He's finally size enough to swim with the adults, so I moved him in this tank, and they almost immediately accepted him as one of their own, started sparring with him just as they would with any other, though he is not quite as big as the others, so he just kind of runs away more than he really fights. But hopefully he can grow, catch up with the other guys. Yeah, that's it for this tank. See ya.